topics: positivity, motivation, never settle for average. You know how we do it over here. I've been called a few things during my time here on this earth, and because I don't really play into the victim mentality, I've been told that I'm a white guy with black skin. If you ever heard that. A white guy with black skin. Now, for those who find that entertaining, I find it entertaining too, because I lived my whole life in this skin, but I've never looked at my skin as my defining moment. I look at what comes out my mouth and how I carry myself as my defining moment. And I look at a lot of the people who make comments like that, or who play into the whole victim mentality or woe me mentality. They must not have ever really had any diversity in their family as far as elders who put them up on what it means to persevere and what it means to let something roll off of you and you keep pushing. My grandmother was raised in the South. Didn't have a toilet in the house. They had an outhouse. 13 brothers and sisters. Grandfather raised in the South. Never really knew his dad, raised predominantly by his grandmother. Picked cotton at 16. Said he didn't like it. They both seen racism. And things were a lot different back then. But it wasn't like he let it define him or limit his vision in life. One of the things that the grandmother told him was, son, you need to leave this town or else you're gonna find yourself in a world of trouble or in the dirt. My grandpa was wilding out. And so he decided to go into the military. And he met my grandmother when she was, I want to say 19. He made some promises. She was going to school to be a nurse in New York, but didn't really get to go back to nursing school because they started a family, but did a lot of traveling. And he had 5 kids, but some of the stories he used to tell me when they were traveling, and my mom would tell me these stories too, they would travel from base to base, and he would have conversations with the base housing coordinator over the phone, and that person would say, yes, we have available base housing, and he would drive hundreds of miles from one state to another state. And he said when he would arrive at that base, upon initial appearance, they would be bewildered because they didn't catch the skin color over the phone, and they would say, oh, we're so sorry. The housing that we told you that we had, we no longer have. And then there would be somebody else in the same office who would hear what was being said, and they would override and say, you know what, Mr. Timmons, we do have housing for you. And he would get housing, but he never took what they said and made it an excuse for why he couldn't take care of his family or do what he needed to do to be successful. And he used to tell me one of my gifts was educating myself, because I was very studious and good in school. And he's like, you know, I wasn't as academic as you, but you have an opportunity, but you have to use that opportunity and not make excuses for why you can't use that opportunity. And, you know, there will always be people who don't like you, people who want to judge you, but you don't let those people hinder you from becoming that which you wish to become. And I never heard him use the N-word or any type of derogatory terms towards other races. He never said anything, you know, and I never heard him say anything that was like considered hate speech today. You know, I heard those things, you know, in school, you know, and, you know, people using ignorant language like that, but I never heard it used at home. He never used that slang term, none of that and stuff. He never said that. He never said any of that. So I didn't get any of that from my home upbringing at home. And, you know, he was always, you know, saying that if you want to be around success, you want to be successful, you got to put yourself around success. You know, people who are smarter than you, learn the game, find out what they invest in, you invest what they invest in, and that's how you move up. And a lot of people used to hate on him. I see people hating on him in the neighborhood. You know, he had about 7 cars in front of the house, 5 Mustangs, Cadillacs, 2 Cadillacs, a van, a Thunderbird. He had all kind of cars, and they all ran. Grass was cut. You know, people used to hate on him, but those same people used to ask to borrow money. People that looked like him, he asked to borrow money, but would talk shit behind his back, wouldn't pay him back. He was always very generous when it came for people he felt that he could help out. But yet they said, oh man, you know, he was this, he was that. But, you know, he wasn't perfect, but I did learn a lot. And I learned a lot about character. I learned a lot about, you know, just not making excuses. And when I did get in trouble, and I thought about some of the things he said, it kind of resonated with me at a later date. But when he was telling me when I was young, I wasn't really paying attention. I was hard-headed. But, you know, you can't worry about what people think about you when you're trying to accomplish certain things, because a lot of those people are miserable themselves and they have no identity. And, you know, what's become what's quote unquote the culture is a handicap. And, you know, I would say all the way up until even when they started implementing, you know, this affirmative action and, you know, really trying to make it seem like we were not capable of doing things on our own, which if you go prior to civil rights, when, you know, there were black-owned bus companies, black-owned banks, black-owned businesses, people were really, really successful. And it just what it was. It just was what it was. It wasn't about you just, you know, people were able to get down and make their businesses, make their success. And, you know, you fast forward, in my opinion, the culture has went backwards 50, almost 100 years.
A social policy to keep black people down. They could not have done a better job than affirmative action. No, affirmative action just basically says what's important about you is the color of your skin, the very thing that was important about us when we were oppressed. When do we get to be human beings? When do we get to be people who compete on their own merit? So now I get accepted at Harvard, and I'm at Harvard, and I'm on the campus, and everybody there knows I wouldn't be there were it not for affirmative action. They're going to rub that in my face. I'm fighting all over again for my humanity. We now have to overcome the blemish, the diminishment that affirmative action imposed on us. And we're back in the same game again. I'm a victim, and so therefore I deserve this.
Households, 70% of them don't have a dad in them. Most of the kids have low self-esteem. They dislike themselves. And I say that because the violence on each other is there's a self-hate that's just unheard of among the people. But I'm not here to beat up the culture. I'm always trying to show that you don't have to be a victim. You don't have to buy into, this sob story or, we're inferior or this or that. You just be you, man. Get out here and get it. Don't base everything off of what you see necessarily with your eyes, but base off the actions, because a lot of times you'll be deceived by people you think that have your best interest because they look like you, and they are snakes in the grass. I met a lot of good people, and a lot of them didn't look like me, but they had my best interest, and I built relationships with those people. So I just want to share, hey man, the lesson to be learned is that if you have an elder in your family and you sit down and talk with them while they're still here to bless you with these stories about what they went through and how they overcame, and what they went through, what these kids going through now is just totally different. There's the struggle that those before us sacrificed so that we can have the luxury we have today. You need to hear those stories from those people, and maybe you'll feel different about, justifying all these excuses why you can't do something, rather than making things happen because you want to make them happen. They talking about getting rid of certain test scores and math exams because it's racist. These people, man, they really think a lot of us are stupid. They think we're incapable, like we have a lower IQ and we're not thinkers. We're not, and which, look at, I've showed you guys on the channel before, damn near most inventions that you are using on a daily basis came from Black inventors. Shoes, stoplight, a lot of the power tools, the automotive. Henry Ford there were some brothers who had a car company. He got a lot of ideas from them. I mean, there's countless inventions that are being used that have way more significance than Kunta Kinte roots. See, they made all that stuff to make us feel like we were some damn savages. We were barefooted, chained up, we came over here, we, sweating oil, Negroes stacked on top of each other. Man, look, there was a lot of us over here. We were very sophisticated. We taught the Europeans a lot. We laced them up on a lot of game, and we were far from living in the jungles, running around butt naked, peeing in the grass with no sense. Look at old photos and stuff of a lot of the Black community, and also Blacks that were involved in politics that were, representatives, that worked with other people who didn't necessarily look like them. The whole racial thing is just a lot of shit right now they put out there to keep us divided, to keep us going at each other, and to not have the communication. All I'm trying to do is wake you up a little bit. Talk to your neighbor, you know, whether he's Caucasian, Asian, or whatever. I'm just saying, have more self-confidence in yourself, and you know, don't feel like you're inferior or blame somebody else for your economic situation. Do something about it. At the end of the day, you have a phone, a smartphone that you have access to. You can look up anything about whatever you want to look up, and you can make 6, 7, 8, 9 figures off your phone, and they don't ever have to ever see your face. So there's no excuse why you shouldn't be getting the bag. But we need to get back to some core values and just some elevation of consciousness, and get rid of the pity party stuff, man. I'm all about networking. Like I said, if excellence looks like purple, red, green, yellow, hey, I'm with it. I'm not looking for one denomination to get on my paper, man. I'm gonna work with those who want to work with me. So you trying to work, holler at me. BigHerc916.com. We can make it happen. If you want some, oh man, you want some sellout time, I ain't trying to hear that, man. Because I've been around enough of that in my lifetime, and it's some straight shit. You buy into that, you buy into some sucker shit. Big Herc.
Are you tired of smelling funky? Have you lost your ad? Go to BigHerc916.com.
Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in.
Officially, I only got one real spanking my entire life. My mom did the best a 14-year-old could do, raising me with love and instilling values that will last a lifetime. I was a straight A student and lived to make her happy. So how did I go astray? A horrible stepdad that stole my self-worth and invoked fear turned me into a person that I struggled to overcome. From skateboarding to selling drugs, gang banging in juvenile hall, I got caught the same way many young promising men get caught up. I struggled to find my identity, getting mixed up in shootouts, crime, and the adult entertainment industry. This roller coaster continued as I juggled college, hustling, and Hollywood, eventually catching a federal bank robbery case. I found redemption in prison while serving a 120-month federal sentence and came out a man on a mission. I became a social media influencer with over 500 million views on YouTube and a life coach mentoring people all over the world. This is my journey against all odds.